it's Tawney. I am back. I'm still trying to work out what type of videos and like video ideas to do, so I'm not quite sure what my schedule is going to be in terms of uploading. I have like tangled hair right here and that's gonna bug me. Anyway, in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we are going to be talking about 5 drugstore palettes that I think you should have in your collection. Now, I know that some of these palettes have ranges and they have like sister palettes and things like that. Like they have palettes that are like in the same category with different themes, different colors, things like that. And they're all very good. They're all by brands that are very good. I think you should look into more of the stuff by these brands, but these are just the 5 products and the 5 eyeshadow palettes that I would recommend. The first palette I want to talk about is one that I don't really feel like it's talked about much because the brand is one that not many people really talk about, and it is the Rimmel Magnifies Spice Edition palette. And it looks like, whoa, it looks like this. I'll flip it right side up so you can see it. It is a red toned palette, very warm. It's similar to the Cherry palette from Urban Decay. A lot of people call this a dupe for that palette. I do not have the Cherry palette to like refer back to it to tell whether or not it is, but you have a lot of your typical warm colors in through here, your reds and your oranges, and a lot of really nice transition shade colors. There's a couple purples and plums in through here that I think could really transform your look. And like if you want to go more of a purple pink route, you can do that. If you want to stay a little bit more red, you can skip those colors and do that. And then there's also a couple basic colors in through here for like your brow bone, or if you want to do that underneath your eye or things like that, or like underneath your colors of your eyeshadow to really like make it pop. I think this is a good palette and it's a good formula, and it does come with a brush, although it's one that has the foam applicator on one side and then the brush on the other. So I wouldn't really recommend using the brush. I don't really think it works that well, but it is something like if you're traveling and you forget your brushes or something happens and this is the only brush you have, you can use it. But I think it's a really good palette, and I really like the shimmers in here. I think that's one of like my favorite qualities of this palette, and I think it's one for the price at like maybe $12 or so. You can't really beat something that nice, especially when people compare it to the Urban Decay palette. The second one I have is the Maybelline Nudes of New York palette, and this is a really good matte palette, very good neutral. Like it has some shimmers, but it has a lot of really good mattes that you can use as like your basics for like, even if you're going to use another palette, like if you just need a typical matte or like a transition shade, this is a palette I would definitely refer back to. It has a lot of really good shimmers. I don't particularly like this color called Inspire because it's a little bit like green gold, but other than that, the rest of them are really nice. They blend really well, they last long in the eyes, the shimmers are good quality. I think this is a very good palette, and it's one, especially from Maybelline's quality, that I think everyone should try at least. I also have another Maybelline palette, and it's the Burgundy Bar, and let me tell you, this is one of my all-time favorite palettes, and I have never come this close to hitting pan in an eyeshadow palette as I have with this one. And I don't know if it's maybe because I just do like the same kind of look with these, but you can definitely tell I've got some wear in this. I've noticed, however, that this shade does have a little bit of sparkle in it, but doesn't really show up on the eye, like shimmer glitter type thing, but it tends to be a little bit, I just dug my fingernail into that. Oopsie. It tends to be a little bit purple, like it comes off plummy. Like you put it on and you think it's brown and you think it's like a deep, you know, outer corner type thing, but then as you like start to put other shades along it, you start to realize it's a little bit purple. So that's my only gripe with this shade, is that it's not a true brown. It like has that bit of plum to it, but it does have a couple different like complementary purples and pinks in there that I think would be able to like work well with that. But if you're going for a basic neutral, that's something to keep in mind. I think there's like so many good shimmers in this palette, and like for being it's not an ordinary Maybelline palette, but like this was one of their earlier palettes. I think they brought this back because I remember I just got this a couple months ago at my Walmart. I think I bought it over a year ago maybe. Like it's been a while, like I've had it for a very long time. But for being one of like their original palettes, I think it's a very good palette. I think the quality is so nice, and I would definitely pick it up just to keep it in your collection. Even if it's not really something you really go for all the time, the shimmers alone are something I would definitely recommend. The next one I have is a palette you can find at Sally Beauty, and it's from the brand called Collab, and it is the Palette Pro eyeshadow palette. It looks like this. I'm not sure if that's the name, but this is the palette. It has more of the warm, like fall colors. I think this would be a great fall palette. Try and show you in the light there. But it's a very neutral palette. This color can be a little bit purplish, but other than that, the rest of them are very basic nudes, like your typical transition, deep outer corner. It has some good shimmers and your brow bone and your inner corner type shadows. And I think it's a very good palette, and the quality is so good in this. It's very creamy and buttery, and not something you'd expect to find at Sally Beauty, especially for a brand that's not very well known. But I would definitely recommend picking up more of these eyeshadow palettes. I haven't done so just because I thought the price was like maybe $14 or something. It was kind of expensive, because I remember it was a pretty pricey palette when I bought this, and I just didn't want to get any others for that price whenever I can get like bigger palettes for like 10 bucks. So that's something to keep in mind, but I do think this palette is very good, and I would definitely recommend it. And then the final palette I have is Drugstore, but it's an online brand, which they do have a lot of stuff at Ulta now, so that's something to keep in mind if you haven't really seen this brand out in your drugstore, to check Ulta or their website. This is from ColourPop, and it is the Lilac You a Lot palette. Let me tell you, this is probably my favorite ColourPop palette that I've ever bought, and this is a purple pink palette. Like, that's saying something, because I'm a very neutral toned, like I go for a very brown, very light colored, like I do kind of a basic type look every time I do my makeup, but this palette really like challenges me to go like out of my comfort zone, use purples, use pinks, use all these shimmers that I wouldn't normally use, or things that like they're not browns, so it's colors that I don't normally use in my everyday looks. But I think you can get so many different looks out of this. You could go very pastel colored, you could go very deep and dark, you could also go very shimmery, and like there's this iridescent color in here. I think those are, you know, it would work really well. And none of these are the glitter shades, so you don't have to worry about putting these on the eye. The back part says that there's four that you can't use on your eye, but they don't look like they're glitters. So I think that would just be up to you about that, honestly. But I put every single one of these on my eye and it's fine. But I think this is a very good palette, and if you're looking for a purple palette, don't waste your money on a $50, $60 palette. Don't go for the Urban Decay palette. Go for this palette. I know they also have another purple one in their 9-pan thing. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's probably a good one too, because their formula is so good, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend this, especially when they have a sale, because then you can get it for a cheaper price and you don't have to pay as much money. But that is all I have to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed learning more about these palettes. They're definitely ones I would recommend, definitely ones I would want to have in my collection to use either on myself or other people, you know, with sanitary reasons, of course. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell somewhere down below so you get notified of when I upload. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!